Hey, let's tie a woolly bugger today. Here are the materials that I'm using for this particular pattern, although woolly bugger can be tied lots of different ways. Like usual, we tie on our thread base to make up the body and wrap the tag around the thread, looping it around the hook. Notice I'm always going the same direction. I tend to make my thread go outward instead of toward me. Okay, now I'm holding a piece of chenille down on the top of the hook, sliding it into place where the thread is just barely holding it on. Then I'll secure it into place. Now it's kind of flopping down, so it's going to get in the way just a little bit, so I'm trying to hold it back. Notice I put the clamp tool on to put weight on it to hold it down. I'm checking to make sure it's tight. Next, I put together a clump of the marabou, both olive and black, along with some of the flashing. Wrap it around the hook, first loose. I'll pinch it down into place. Now I'll tie it down a little tighter, cinch it down. I'll let the weight of my clamp hold it down. Let it drop. Now it's time to clip off the rest of that. Be real careful you don't cut your thread, but you want to cut it as close as possible to the thread to keep it from being too bulky. So I'll continue wrapping the thread around. Again, notice I'm going in the same direction. Let it hang down. Now I'm putting some Zap-A-Gap fast drying cement on there, or super glue. With the super glue still a little wet, I'm wrapping the thread back over the feathers there, the marabou there on the front. A little bit. And I tied a strip of the black feather on there. Now I'm tying the Japanese hen that's going to go around the outside of the chenille. I secure it in place by tying the tip in. Now I'm wrapping the chenille around the hook. I try to do it evenly. Keep it close together. Notice I kept the thread in place. You'll see why here in just a minute. So I'm wrapping the chenille forward. Notice it's slipping some, so I slide it back in place. I keep it tight with my finger by pinching it. Okay, now I'm wrapping my thread forward over the chenille as another way to hold it in place. I pitch it over more, make it tighter. Now, I clip it again close, but being careful not to cut it. Okay, now the hen feather, I'm going to run it along the top, wrapping it. It doesn't have to lay on there any particular direction. You want to have a gap in between. We'll run it close to the back of the head. I'm holding it tight. Now I'll take the thread and run it over the tag back and forth to secure it. And gonna snip it, pull it back so that I can run some more thread around behind the hook or the head. whipping tool and use it to put a few loops behind the head to secure it. And notice we had the feather slipped. Now I'm leaving this in here to show you how to fix it. So I just took that bit of feather back out, tightened it back up, pinched it down, and then I ran loops back over behind the thread over it along with the whipping tool and secured it. So notice it looks fine now. Now it's time to trim. You know, these can be short or long. Remember, when they're in the water, you're going to be stripping it, so they'll actually lay down, but this gives it a swimming motion. And that's one reason why I leave mine a little longer than probably some other folks. Also notice they're longer on the bottom to cover the hook, to make it a little more stealthy. Now we trim out the marabou feathers at the back, or at the tail. Those are probably a little long. I generally like to tie my tail a little shorter than that. I'll finish it off with a couple of beads of glue, and again, this is to hold everything in place since there's so many feathers on there. And there you go. That's how you tie a woolly bugger.